Hi.
Hola.
Hi, hier ist Mr. Döse.
This is Michael Bradley.
Hey, I'm Memphis.
Hey.
Hola. Hello.
I'm here with soccer.com.
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 And I'm talking with my friends soccer.com.
See you soon.
Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the Made in Japan Mizuno Basara 101 in kangaroo leather. Now inside the box they do include a boot bag to go along with the shoes themselves. It's black in color. You can see it in kind of like a sparkly bronze color. It says Made in Japan with the Mizuno logo, nothing printed on the back. And basically there are some pull tie strings at the top of the bag so you can seal up the top when your shoes are inside. Other than that, all you're going to find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly and we'll take a closer look at the Made in Japan version of the Basara 101. Basically Mizuno's lightweight thin synthetic shoe, but as you guys can see by the Made in Japan model, these are not a lightweight synthetic. These are kangaroo leather, at least partially kangaroo leather. So a lot of you guys who probably clicked on this video probably saw my more recent video on the Wave Ignitus 4 and the Made in Japan version of the Wave Ignitus 4. Obviously with those two shoes, yes, there are some minor differences, but for the most part, they're kind of the same thing. They just up the quality on the Made in Japan version. That's kind of been the case for the Made in Japan line from Mizuno in the first place. But in the case of the regular Indonesian-made Basara 101 and the Made in Japan model, they're actually two completely different shoes. So yes, I'm going to be comparing these to the regular 101 model, but for the most part, you're really going to want one or the other. It's not going to be a case of which is the better value or is it worth it to buy the Made in Japan model like it is with the other Made in Japan models from Mizuno, if that makes any sense. For those that are wondering, these guys have a retail price of $280 US, so they definitely aren't cheap. That does compare to the regular Indonesian made model, which again is quite a bit different, which retails for $210. So these are $70 more than the regular version of the Basara 101. In this video, we're going to go over all the details as far as tech specs, performance, the general looks of the shoe, the weight of course, and of course how they fit and feel on feet. So if you are interested in learning more about the Made in Japan Basara 101, stick around, watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find Buy It Now links, where you'll be able to pick these up below the normal $280 retail. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. Let's start things off with the performance of the shoe. So what I have right here is the synthetic or standard version of the Basara 101. And then obviously right here, I have the kangaroo leather Made in Japan variation. For those that perhaps don't know why one is more expensive or why one is different from the other, basically what Mizuno does, they're a Japanese company and their standard models, which obviously are still high-end shoes, they're still very good quality. The regular versions of those shoes are made generally in Indonesia, whereas they have kind of an ultra premium variation, or what they call an ultra premium variation of their shoes that are actually made in Japan. It's part of the reason why they're more expensive. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not, although I will say in pretty much every situation, the Made in Japan version is definitely better quality. But in this particular situation, I know a lot of you guys are going to ask which is the better buy. And I wouldn't say one is necessarily better than the other in this particular case because they're kind of different shoes. It depends on what type of feel that you're looking for. If you want something with soft leather, obviously the Made in Japan model is the way to go. Whereas if you want more of that lightweight, thin synthetic, kind of more barefoot feel on the ball, the regular Made in Indonesia Basara 101 is probably the one I would go with. So on the upper, you have kangaroo leather, which spans basically the front half of the shoe, I would say. So from this diagonal line forward, all the blue area here, going all the way around till this seam right here on the medial side is made from ultra premium, really soft kangaroo leather. If you've ever held a pair of Made in Japan Mizunos before, you definitely know how good the leather is, and these are absolutely fantastic, and it's a good thickness of leather as well. Normally when you see leather implemented on this kind of shoe, it's very, very thin. This is, I would say, on the thicker side, but because of how soft it is, it's not going to feel bulky or anything like that. It actually feels really good on feet and provides that super soft leather touch that you would want. Now, like a lot of kind of leather synthetic hybrid shoes, what I often complain about is kind of the inconsistency when it comes to feel. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. Again, it comes down to personal preference. So if I had to compare this shoe to anything else out there, it kind of reminds me of older F50 Adizero models where the front half or the toe area was leather and the rest of the shoe was synthetic. This is kind of along those lines, but obviously with some differences as well. So quality of the leather, absolutely fantastic. You're going to feel that when you're dribbling and just making general touches on the ball. The tongue area, or the top of the foot, as you guys can see, is made from their R-Fiber Control synthetic that spans the entire midfoot area as well on the medial side. And then on the lateral side, you're going to find the Prime Skin synthetic. So there is a variation of synthetic. You can see the seam right here where basically it switches. The Prime Skin is a synthetic leather that's a little bit thicker, whereas the R-Fiber Control on this side is definitely a little bit thinner. The R-Fiber Control does take up the tongue as well. So basically, you have that soft padded leather touch at the front of the foot, and then across the top of the foot, as well as on the medial side here, you're going to get a super thin, kind of more barefoot feel. So kind of a more pingy sensation when striking the ball, and a softer sensation when making touches on the ball and controlling in general. So you kind of get not necessarily the best of both worlds, but definitely some variation in terms of feel depending on what part of the ball is making contact with what part of the foot. Hopefully that made some sense. As far as the lacing system is concerned, you can see that the laces do run up the middle of the shoe, but it does have this burrito style tongue system. So basically from the medial side, it just continues over across the top of your foot and then overlaps on the inside, as you guys can see. Kind of like what we saw before, or what we've seen before on older T90 models from Nike. Definitely not a new system that Mizuno has developed or anything like that, but it actually works quite well on this shoe and does create for somewhat of a unique fit, something I will talk about more a little bit later in this video. As far as the inside of the shoe is concerned, it does have a nice synthetic suede liner on the inside, which is definitely different than what you're going to find on the standard model, where it's more of like a synthetic leather material that's completely smooth. So that is a difference. The insole, fully removable, of course. This is a really nice insole. It says made in Japan right there. And basically it features their Zero Glide technology, which this looks like a mesh, but it actually isn't. What it is a very thin layer of some kind of foam or material that has a slight grippiness to it. It grips socks really well. So kind of what you would find from True Socks, where your socks will grip the insole and prevent your foot from sliding around on the inside of the shoe. This will have that effect, not necessarily to the same extreme, but it'll have that effect with a regular pair of socks. So it kind of prevents your foot from sliding around on the inside, and it really does make a big difference in terms of how connected and how responsive the shoe feels when it's on your foot. The second that you move, the second that you push off, is the second that the shoe reacts. And like I said, having this insole gripping your sock, like I said, does make a big difference overall in just how the shoe feels. The insole itself is made from a relatively thin layer of this kind of white foam material. It's got some good sponginess to it. And as far as insoles go, it's nothing too significant as far as cushioning is concerned, but it does get the job done. Moving on to the bottom of the shoe, this is pretty much unchanged from the regular Basara 101. What you're gonna find is it's made from a Pebax material, and you have their D-Flex groove system. So this little area right here is thinned out ever so slightly, and it kind of flexes and bends with how your foot actually would. So if you were pushing off for a sprint, you're going to be kind of up on your toes, and your foot's going to bend ever so slightly this way. So the sole plate is designed to bend a little bit more easily this way, just to give you a more natural kind of range of motion, if you will, but it's still rigid and strong enough to maintain a good level of, I guess, structure in the parts of the foot that actually require that little bit of extra structure. And then of course, given that it is Pebax, the sole plate is nice and flexible pretty much all the way throughout, at least in the parts that it should be. As far as the stud pattern is concerned, you can see it is relatively unique. They're bladed studs, but they're fairly large in profile, so they don't necessarily dig into the ground all that well, but you still get good traction. And what's great about this particular stud pattern is that stability is really good. Because you have so many studs, and because the studs themselves are fairly large in size, you have a lot of actual I guess contact with the ground. So what that's gonna allow for is really good stability. You're not putting all your pressure on really thin small studs that are scattered across the entire sole plate or far apart on the sole plate. They're kind of more bunched up, and like I said, you get a really good kind of all-around traction experience on firm natural grass. I really like this stud pattern, never had any issues with it. And again, it's one of those stud patterns I think definitely will get the job done for most people. They also do have a rivet at the front as you get on the regular model, so you know that the durability is going to be really solid, which is generally the case with pretty much any Mizuno product. Basically what the rivet is it connects the sole plate and the upper and kind of bonds it in place as kind of an extra reinforcement along with the glue that's already there. So really, really solid build quality, really solid construction in general. And again, it's kind of a unique combination of features all on one single shoe. And basically, if what I've described sounds good to you, the made in Japan version of the Basara 101 is a really solid option. In terms of weight, I thought we'd compare the regular synthetic version of the Basara 101 to the made in Japan kangaroo leather model to see if there's any significant weight difference between the two. So I'm going to be weighing both shoes for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind these are both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9 US. So this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the Indonesian made synthetic model, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.05 ounces, the equivalent of 200 grams exactly. So for comparison's sake, that's about the same as a pair of Nike Mercurial Superfly 4s or Nike Magista Obras, two very, very popular shoes. So we'll change the scale back to ounces. Remember those numbers, 7.05 ounces. We'll throw on the leather made in Japan version, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.1 ounces, so 0.05 ounces more, the equivalent of 201 grams. So you're talking about a 1 gram difference, which is basically nothing. They're both very lightweight shoes, both feel pretty much identical in terms of weight when they're on your feet, and neither of these two shoes are going to weigh you down. So again, if you're looking for something nice and lightweight, you really can't go wrong with either of them. It really just depends on what type of actual feel that you're looking for. All right, so here is a look at the Basaras on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock black laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot, I have a pair of white and black grid pattern SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. You find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, in all honesty, I much prefer the way this shoe feels versus the standard synthetic model, although the feel is completely different. So it's kind of, again, a fair comparison that's very much based on personal preference. If you like thin synthetic shoes, you're going to prefer the feel of the regular version. But if you prefer the feel of leather shoes like me, you're definitely going to prefer the made in Japan version. These feel really, really good on feet. The leather at the front is super soft, super premium right out of the box, gets even softer over time as you wear them, like you would expect from any leather shoe. And while there is a lot of synthetic on the shoe, pretty much the entire midfoot as well as the top of the foot, it feels actually pretty natural. Normally with a thin synthetic, tighter fitting shoe, which I would consider this to be, you have that kind of squeezing your foot sensation, especially through the midfoot, but you don't really get that sensation with this particular model. I think a lot of that has to do with the burrito style tongue and just the lacing system in general. It does a really good job of giving you that tension and keeping the sides of the shoe nice and tight against your foot, but it doesn't feel like it's squeezing in any way. It's still very, very comfortable. And the shoe, like I said, is extremely flexible. There definitely is more flexibility to the leather on this model than what you'll find from the synthetic variation, at least in terms of how it moves with your foot. This just feels, like I said, very, very natural. I just like them a lot, actually, more than I was expecting to. As far as the overall fit of the shoe is concerned, like I said, it is a tighter fitting shoe. So if you have really wide feet, probably not the best option. Obviously, you are going to get some nice stretch through the forefoot and toe box area, given that the front part of the shoe is kangaroo leather, but the midfoot is a synthetic material that isn't really going to give at all. So as far as stretching is concerned, don't expect too much from the midfoot, but obviously in the forefoot and toe box area, it will give a little bit. As long as you don't have excessively wide feet and you don't mind tighter fitting shoes, you shouldn't have any issues with these in the width department. As far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. Alright guys, that is it for my review of the made in Japan Mizuno Basara 101 in kangaroo leather. Again, if you're interested in more info, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find high quality images of this exact pair that I took myself. That'll give you a better idea as to how they actually do look in person. And of course, you'll find buy it now links, with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $280 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding this particular shoe, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.